Hello guys. So recently I've been asked to make a YouTube channel for War Robots, and I figured I might as well. So my first video, I kind of want to give you guys a brief overview of weapons in the early tiers. And really my whole purpose with this channel is going to be to help free-to-play players make it to Champion League as quickly as possible without wasting any resources. And the reason why I start specifically with weapons is they are pretty much your most important investments, if we're being honest here. Weapons mean damage, damage means honor points means progression. Now I'm recording this on a tablet, so I don't really have any experience recording YouTube videos, but hopefully this is still helpful for anyone that's newer or even just interested in trying out different strategies. Now I've tried probably, I don't know, definitely many strategies across over a dozen accounts, so, and this is pretty much what's working for me. If you're trying to use budget options, and they can make it to Champion League, especially tier 3 stuff, they can definitely make it to Champion League. So if we're completely ignoring tier 4, and we're starting, let's just say right now we're starting an absolute brand new account. Obviously, everyone will tell you this. The first things you're going to want to slap on there is Punishers, Punisher Ts, and Thunders. Obviously, they fall under close range sustain. I'll put them in there for now. But as far as pilot skills and stuff, that can definitely make a humongous difference. Like, the performance can drastically change. These weapons can be good, especially with shot grouping, and you get the accelerating pilot skill for the Punishers, and you'll be cooking up some meta stuff. They'll be kind of shocked, won't lie. So definitely those three. Even Thunders, they can really slap, but I know some people say 150 meters. You really got to be like 50 meters to where you're doing an impressive amount of damage. And Punisher Ts, don't let the 500 meter range fool you. Even with the shot grouping, you're not really hitting anyone until like 300 meters range. That's when you're really starting to slap. And that's with the skills. Without the skills, you definitely want to be under 200. But it's definitely not a bad early game. Just those are the first things you want to grab. Now, obviously, you can't play close range brawler weapons on literally everything in your hangar, so I would propose the only option within tier 1s to start off with until you can get tier 2s, tier 3s that are actually usable. And I would not recommend buying anything with gold. Don't buy any of these weapons with gold. Pull them from the chests. You'll get them for free. Thank me later. Now, the only ones from tier 1 that give you a little bit of range for something that might want to sit back, you're definitely going to need some type of mid-range, mid to long-range option. And all you really got is mullets. Molot Ts. And then I have a very interesting, like... kind of interesting, I think, in my opinion it is. Combination. If you do have a heavy hard point, we're not going to use the snipers. They are complete crap. Obviously, we're not using Zeniths. They're probably the worst weapon in the game. Definitely one of the worst. That Nordcom family is all trash. I would pair them with Tridents. And the reason I say this is mullets do have shot spread, and it gets really bad after 600 meters anyway, so they might be 800 meter range, but they aren't really doing any damage until you hit around 600. I mean, if you get the shot grouping, you'll be doing some good damage at 600, but even 500 is probably where you're going to hit decent amount of shots without it. Definitely want the accelerator on there. But the reason I choose this is honestly Tridents have a nice initial burst. And then Punishers, I mean, during the time that the Tridents are unleashing their clip, the Mullets are charging up. So you get that a nice initial burst damage, and then you can start cooking them with the Mullets. Now I'm not saying it's the best combination, but it will surprise you when you try it out. And for to start off, it's not bad. But I say wait until you pull the Trident from a chest. I know the chest just changed, so not everyone has the same exact chest, but I'm very certain I saw the Trident in one of the builds that I've done recently in the early chests. So if you don't end up getting it, then I would just stick to the long range builds on something that runs, mullets. For example, you could do, if you're doing tier 2s, let's say you get an Alkin or something, then obviously you could throw on some mullets, and that'll do you pretty good. Alright, and then we get down to really the tier 2 options, because there is no other option for tier 1. We got magnums, of course. Everyone everyone can use these, and I'm gonna say sustain, obviously, because they have like never-ending reload. And magnums, Tarans, 4.8 second reload, good damage, nice cycle. It's sustain. And that'll about do it for what's like going to stay on this list for if you're trying to use any of these. Now, I will say that if you're doing a build where you want to stick to nothing but tier 1s and tier 2s, you do have some other options that are pretty interesting. Like, if you were going to do that, then I would have to say Zeus would have to be usable, because you do need some type of long range option. And if you want to pair that, obviously Ions and Stings. And yeah, no, Stings, they're not the same family whatsoever, but they do share the same range. And they do have some surprising corrosion and then burst damage. Like, they do synergize okay. It's decent enough that you won't cry about it. So that'll be the budget options if you were trying to stick to that. And if you really can't help yourself and you get bored and you're only doing tier 1s and tier 2s, obviously, the Pinata Orkins Exodus can work. I just feel like after the initial burst damage, you get your kill, you're pretty much dead after that. So it's why I don't personally recommend it, but if you were going to go for other tier 2 options, that's a decent build. Storm Gusts, you can pair that with a Thunder, it'll do okay also. And as for the longer range, I really don't think any of the tier 2s are really that great, other than what we mentioned with the Zeus. Snipes are not good. They're just way too long. Trebuchets are like the only ones that can be okay. And it's got to be like a very set up build. And even then, I just don't feel like they do enough damage. The whole point of the speed run is to get as much damage as possible every single match. Now, I will say Avengers is definitely going to have to be an option, because they are definitely better at pairing with the Punisher T's than the Thunder is. But again, like I said, do not pay any gold for any of the tier 2 and tier 3 weapons, or tier 1, like the Trident. Wait until you pull them from a chest, and if you don't, just continue running your budget builds that you've already had with a smile on your face, because you're going to get them maxed out very quickly. Yeah, that pretty much does it for tier 2, and I'm going to drop these down to budget options, because in the grand scheme of tier 1s, 2s, and 3s, those are not as useful as the ones that we're about to go into. But I will say the Punisher family and the Thunder, Magnum Tehran. Thunder is a little bit weaker than the rest, but I feel like it is good enough that you can put it up there. Especially for how cheap it is, you can definitely do something. Tier 3s, I'm not going to put every single weapon, so I'm probably just going to use the light variant, unless there is a, like, specialized heavy, for example. The puncher will probably make it, but it'll represent the entire family, because slapping the whole thing on this list, it would get pretty cluttered pretty quick. Starting off, we are definitely not using snares. Definitely not. I'm sorry, after the nerf, you are not doing enough damage in a clip to sit there and wait. You're not gonna get consistent kills. I mean, if someone's like already dead, it's kind of cool. You shoot out your ice noodle and you get the kill, but definitely wouldn't recommend those. Vaults, absolutely not. They're already weaker than the Weber Gauss, but this is representing the whole family. No, definitely not. After the nerfs, oh, I mean, you can play with them and make them usable, but I'm telling you, I wouldn't use them. Halo, Corona, Glory, I would have to say they are usable, but you're going to see this list is going to grow with a lot of close range burst options. I would not really recommend running these probably, but I don't know. They do have their use case. I mean, if you're using something like, especially with the Glory, if you're using like a Lynx or something and you can get real close, or if you want like budget builds and you can figure out a way to get close, they can do some nice damage. But really, Lockdown, I would have to say Shredders are definitely awesome. I don't know, I'm afraid to even talk about it because Pixonic might hear this and then ban them. But I'm telling you, man, they are still cooking. They are still decent weapons. Probably one of the, if not the best tier 3s. Unfortunately, this is pretty much the only mid-long range weapon that still works after the nerfs that happened about a year ago, or 11 months ago. Mid-long range, the Dragoon, Hussar, that family, Marquez, all those, they definitely are okay. Like, I was using them, and they feel decent. They still can slap. And the reload time increase did kind of balance out the nerf a little bit. It does feel a little bit better, but obviously burst damage is pretty much more important in the meta, so they did get nerfed overall. But they're pretty much the last man standing. And obviously, if we're going to use budget builds, we need something that works, and that's the only thing that works. I mean, you can't have a hanger that's all brawlers. I mean, you could, but what are you going to do on Yamantau? Like, or Canyon? You need something with some range. Now, next, Blaze, Ember, Igniter. I'm going to have to say that they are usable and they are pretty good. Now, I'm not going to fully like order all of this, but let's just kind of, obviously, that's going to be better than the other options, but I would have to say not by a ton. And if we're going to try to rank these a little bit, I guess, definitely Magnum Tehrans are better than the Avenger, but I don't know. Avengers do a ton of damage. I heard some people saying they're not doing as much damage scaling compared to the Punisher T's. If you look at the individual bullet damage, it's lower, but the amount of bullets it's shooting is way higher, so the damage is definitely increased. Next up, we have the Rime Cryo Glacier family. Honestly, they're awesome after the recent buffs, so I would definitely recommend using those on your assassins. Something like a Raven. I love using them on a Raven. Those type options, they could definitely help. I mean, you could straight up delete anybody in a clip if you can get close enough. and they can't escape you. The Spark, yeah, I'm sorry, that whole family, we're not using that. The lock on, the lock on that family is just, it's not good enough for Champ League. A whole 3 seconds. You have to get close with them too, which means you're likely traveling faster, and the meta is just full of fast bots. You're going to lose your lock on a lot. They do nice damage up close. You can use them if you really want, but I do not recommend them, so I just would not use them. They're not working in Champ League. In the low leagues, yeah, they might seem like the better than everything else, but they're not. These, absolutely. Scald, Incinerator, Scorchers, they are still decent because of the, well, with Peregrine Rain, they're even better. But you can definitely use them without it and still have a good time. 500-meter range, so you have a little bit more range than every other option other than, the Dragoon family. I will note the Scorcher's a little bit weaker. It's kind of odd the way they scaled it, but if you research it, it does make a little bit of sense why they had to do that. But I would definitely recommend using those. And if we look into mediums, I don't think there's any single medium worth anything. I mean, we're definitely not using shock trains, I'm sorry. And I'm not talking about every weapon because the weapons that are bad, there's just no reason to talk about them. Now, I will say Tridents with the mullets is okay, but I'm just going to be honest with you. You might as well just use the Dragoon family because you're going to be hitting about the same range anyway and it's slightly better, so. But if you really had to. Now, they killed the Avalanche. That's not an option. Redeemer, Puncher, we're definitely going to move those up. Puncher obviously got gutted, but it can still do a decent amount of damage, especially up close. So we're definitely going to put that in our list. Redeemers, they definitely belong. They pair well with the Magnum Tyrans. I would really almost argue that they might be better. They're probably better than the Flames, if we're being honest. But for the sustain, it really depends. Like, if you can really lock someone down and just toy around flaming just straight up towards someone, or if you're using a fast enough bot that they can't escape you, yeah, they can definitely torch. But I do like the accuracy that the Redeemer, Tyran, Magnum, even the Redeemer just got nerfed a little while ago, it's still very, very accurate compared to what some of these other options. And definitely not using Flux or any other options. I mean, if you had to use a sniper, that's your option. So we're not using Flux, fellas. Fainters, they got nerfed too hard. We're definitely not using Fainters. So this pretty much is your options. Honestly, Punisher T's, if you hook up the pilot skills, they will perform fairly well. Now, I was kind of interested in, having you guys decide for me what I'm going to do for future videos. I want to create a new account that kind of gives you like a walkthrough on how to obtain all the resources and things that you need to climb the ranks as quickly as possible. Now, there's certain things that using tier 1s, tier 2s, tier 3s don't make any sense. Like drones, for example. They all cost the same to level up. So there's zero reason to level any of them up. I mean, the only tier 3 that's probably worth leveling of the drones is Whiteout. And that's depending on what bot you're running. most of the time you're just going to pretty much wait for tier 4. So tier 4 drones, I'm just talking about from a resource efficiency, speed running. Titans might be a little bit different, especially since you're not getting the full module pathways now. Definitely makes them a little bit harder to use, but I will say they are cheaper, but like a kit is not even half the cost of a tier 4. So it's not the same scaling that the weapons and the robots have. Robots, you're getting like a sixth of the cost for a tier 1 to from tier 4 to level them all the way up. It's way cheaper. You're getting a huge discount. Even from tier 4 to tier 3 is a decent discount. But for the Titans, it doesn't quite scale the same. So basically, what I'm going to ask you guys is, you can comment down below. Should we do a tier 3 run where I start a brand new fresh account and then I walk through how to get tier 3s, and obviously we're not going to start with them right away, but how to level up and then when to change. I'm going to go through the progression, what levels are obviously, like for example, level 12 is obviously the best mile marker for robots. You could leave them there while you max out your weapons and you won't have any problem because you already have max speed and you already have 80% of your health. So there's really not too much of, the weapons are going to be more important. You want to max those first. They're going to give you more damage, they're going to give you more honor points, they're going to help you progress and get yourself in the Champion League. But I will walk you through how to go about it and all that. But I didn't know if you guys wanted me to do a tier 3 run, which I will say tier 3s are definitely usable in Champ League, or a tier 1, tier 2. Obviously it'd be mostly tier 2s that I would try to bring the weapons and the robots into Champion League, which I will say it is a little bit harder, but you can definitely get there way faster because maxing out tier 1 weapons is like dirt cheap compared. You can get a tier 1 weapon completely maxed out in the cost that it takes a tier 4 to get to level 12. It's actually cheaper by like, what is it, 71.5 million for a weapon tier 1 to get it to max MK3, and it's like 88 million for a tier 4 to level 12. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is from memory. I was doing the research for a little while. But yes, you guys let me know below. Hopefully this video was helpful. I'm going to do another one with the robots, which will be slightly different in style, because obviously there's different utilities. I'm probably going to make it more of an official tier list, but with these weapons, it kind of depends on what your needs are. So, with that being said, thanks for watching, and have a good rest of your day.